All right, so here we are. I want to do a quick review of the stuff you just read in the introduction. We're talking about geography, which is the study of the land, the earth on which we live. So when we think about geography, it's all about how we interact and how we get around and how we study this stuff. So the question is, how do geographers show information on maps? And that's something we want to think about throughout this chapter and throughout this class is how information is shown on maps that people use all the time. So that's something that we can think about here. So let's take a look at some of the highlights of the things that we need to know. So some things to remember, all right, from our reading. We want to know geographers are like explorers of old. The example they gave was Lewis and Clark. How are people that study the land and use maps like the explorers way back in the day? These guys that were discovering new parts of our country, and for that matter, explorers of old can be people that explored different parts of the earth. So let's take a look here at what we've got. So one way, we study the natural features, right? We look at the sky, we look at the water, we look at the land, and we study them. We see mountains. What does that mean? We see a river. What does that mean? We see a big lake, like Lake Michigan. What does that mean for people? All right. The next thing you want to think about is we study how people interact with the world around them. So we want to think about things like, how do we use the natural resources we have? How do we use the trees in the forest? How do we use the water? How do we use things that are under the Earth's surface? So, and we want to know how that impacts people and how we interact with the world around us. Another thing to remember, what are some ways that geographers use maps? They gave an example, right? Basically, we're talking about recording information. You see something, you write it down, then somebody else can use that information as they take a trip and look at some of those things on a map. And of course, for making new discoveries. So you record the information, you make these discoveries, and then you have a record of those discoveries. And that's really what we're talking about. Or you use another map to help you continue on this journey of finding new things and discovering new things. So those are the things that we got to think about here for the introduction. If you need to go back, review it, watch this video again, but you're going to be answering a couple of questions here in just a moment. So rock on, geographers, keep it up. All right. See you next time.